to hear me go over that phrase over and over and over again. Common sense. All right. How about meats and meat substitutes? 20 pounds, down to 0 if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. Okay? Meat substitutes can be used in soups, stews. It can flavor beans. It can be done, you can use it for anything, whatever you use meat for. Now, how are you going to keep it? So most people buy a little bit extra. They'll cut it up and they'll put it in the freezer or the refrigerator, and they'll eat on it from payday to payday. That's fine from payday to payday, but what about long-term storage? How about canning meat? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about learning how to can in general? It's not that hard to do. It's actually very fun and very enjoyable. You don't have to, if you can grow a garden and you have a place to grow a garden, by all means, I will recommend that as well. We'll go into that also. But really, go to farmers markets or your local tailgate market, buy some fresh produce, bring it home, look up some YouTube, learn how to can, practice it with vegetables first. When you get the knack of vegetable canning, of water bath canning down, then start looking at pressure canning, learn pressure canning, and then go into meat canning and buy extra hamburger meat, buy extra stew meat, things of that nature. Pack it and can it the way it's supposed to be done by the instructions, and you'll be surprised what you can do with a few canning jars, a pressure canner, and some meat that's on sale. Even buying the meat that's on sale right at the sale-by date, that's been marked way down, you can buy that meat, take it home, put it in a canner. You can can that meat, and then you have effectively stopped the spoilage date on it, and it is fixed right there. You're good to go. Open it up 6 months, a year down the road, and it's fresh and it's edible. It is something you need to learn. 20 pounds per adult male per year. Doesn't take long to get that much. Fats and oils. This is Crisco type fats, lard, and cooking oils. Now for cooking oil, let me make a recommendation. I recommend that you learn to, if you don't already and you're not already willing to use olive oil, and I'm not talking about Popeye's girlfriend, I'm talking about olive oil. Just learn to use it. Be willing to work with it and buy it and stock it up, because it's also a candle and a lantern fuel. In the Bible, olive oil was used to fuel lanterns and candles in the temple and in other things throughout life in Bible days. So you can fill it up in a jar in a glass and drop a wick in it, and you've got a lantern or a candle that will burn for a long, long time. So it gives you something that's double duty. Stock enough of it for 20 pounds per adult male per year, and put some extra back for other things. As a matter of fact, it would make a good barter tool as well. How about sugars? Sugars take on a world of their own. 60 pounds per adult per year. Be creative here. Think about how many different ways you can get sweeteners. How many different sweeteners are out there? Well, of course, there's granulated sugar, and then there are the sugar substitutes. And then there's honey and molasses. Now, honey is interesting. I'm a beekeeper, and of course, I have a tendency to favor honey. But I'm a beekeeper because of its storage capacity. Do you realize that honey never goes bad? Raw honey will never go bad. It may crystallize into sugar crystals, and that's okay. All honey will do that. All raw honey will do that. Now, with raw honey crystallizing, how do you get it back? Hot water in a pot, take the lid off, set the jar in. Don't let water get into inside the honey, but just let it heat the honey, and it will dissolve the crystals back into honey, and it's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. So, when you look at this, and honey, by the way, let me throw some things out here for honey. Honey is a very good first aid tool as well. Honey from your area, if you buy from a local beekeeper, you get local pollen that's in that honey, and it helps your immune system with allergens for allergy season. It's also a good first aid treatment. Actually apply it onto a wound because it has antimicrobial agents built into it as well. But now here's the caveat to honey. Not all honey is raw honey. Honey that you buy in the grocery store is probably not raw honey. It's processed honey. I recommend you to stay away from that. Do not try to store it. Buy from a local beekeeper, someone that you can trust, because raw honey is 18.6 or less percent water. That's important. Anything above that in water content in honey will cause it to ferment, and it will spoil. Less than that is good, okay? You do not want a lot of water in honey. It will cause problems. It will cause you problems. Cheap grocery store honey is a high content of water because it's usually eaten real quickly, and what's not eaten is thrown away. So buy from someone you can trust. Buy from a local beekeeper, and keep some honey. Keep some of this 60 pounds in honey. Also, hard candies are another way that you can get sugar. You can add to your sugar count as well. And these are good comfort foods that can help with appetite fatigues and things of that nature, especially with children or older folks. That kind of helps break the monotony of what may or may not be going on, okay? But there are ways to get this 60 pounds of sugar. Be creative. That's something that you have to learn. If you're going to do prepping on a budget, you have to be creative. You can go to Billy Bob's website and the Billy Bob Prepper Store, and you can buy anything and everything that you want and have it delivered UPS to your door, and all you have to do is pop the top and use it. But then what happens if you use all of it and you need more? You need to be able to recreate on your own what's in Billy Bob's Prepper Store. The more of that you can recreate on your own, the cheaper you can make it on yourself, and the more of your money you can have to expand your prepping and do more of it. Now, I'm not trying to criticize commercial operations. Don't get me wrong. Commercial operations provide sponsorship for the station that this program is on, and I appreciate those folks. They all sell good products, and they all sell dependable products. I'm not saying the product is not quality and it's not worth what they're selling it for. I am just telling you, if you are in a financial situation where you cannot buy it commercially, you need to find a way to be creative and reproduce it on your own, cheaper, out of raw materials, so that it can be duplicated or recreated over and over again. That is the trick to prepping on a budget. There's fruit and vegetables. Again, you need to go back to preserving, canning, and drying fruits and vegetables. It is work. It takes a little bit of skill, and it takes an art, and it takes trial and error. And it's something that you have to learn to do. But when you learn how to dry fruits and vegetables, and when you learn how to preserve them on your own, you don't have to worry about the commercial side of it. The only thing you have to be concerned with is how long will they last. Now, there are some other foods, some auxiliary foods, I guess you may want to call it. Vanilla extracts, lemon juices, chocolate syrups, vitamins, protein powders, Kool-Aid type drinks, things of those nature. Those things all have multiple uses, and you need to store some of these. Now, of course, how much is going to be up to you and your preference. Again, Billy Bob down the road has this website, and he's telling you on YouTube or whatever that he does this and he does that and he does the other. And if you want to be successful, you need to follow his lead. It may be true. I'm not going to say he's not telling you the truth, and I'm not saying he's not sincere in what he's telling you. But what works for him may not work for you, or may not work as well for you, and it may not be financially feasible for you. So you're going to have to be able to evaluate your needs and the needs of your family. And that is what the first episode of Prepping on a Budget is about. It's helping you make the proper evaluations for you and your family so that you will know what you need, why you need it, and where you need to apply it. Now, I talked about these numbers being for an average adult. Well, what about the females? That was an adult male. How about the females and the children? All right. For the average female, multiply these numbers by 0.75 for each average female. For children 1 to 3, multiply it by 0.3. For 4 to 6, multiply it by 0.5. For 7 to 9, again by 0.75. If you are an adult who is engaged in a lot of manual labor, multiply it by 1.25 to 1.50. Again, only you can determine what these numbers have to wind up being in the end. If you're living in a rural area and everything is manual labor and you're doing everything by back-breaking work and muscle, then you're probably going to need a 1.5 multiplier on these things. However, if you've got farm equipment and you're going to store fuel to keep that farm equipment running and you're going to use tractors to do it, you may not need as much food to keep you fueled as you do fuel to keep your equipment fueled. So you're going to have to look at your circumstance and your situation. And you're going to have to apply common sense to get to the point of this is what we need in our household to make this thing work. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, yes, I've got a year's supply of food. Really? Okay, 400 pounds of grain or corn is 17.5 ounces a day. 60 to 90 pounds of beans is 2.5 ounces a day. 10 quarts of cooking oil is less than 0.8 ounces a day. 60 pounds of sugar is 2.6 ounces a day. 8 pounds of salt is 0.35 ounces a day. 16 to 75 pounds of powdered milk is 0.7 ounces a day. And then each person needs 14 gallons of drinking water for every 2-week period for that person. That's how much a day or for that smaller period of time each person needs. Now think about that. Let that settle in and sink in for just a little while. It sounds like a lot of food, and it is. It is. And you're going to see that it is a lot of food to be dealing with and to be working with. But there's a way. There's a way to get it. Not free, but sensible. And you got to start now. You can't start tomorrow. You can't worry about it anymore. You may be saying, man, I should have started this 5 years ago, and worrying and biting your fingernails and everything of this nature. Don't go there. Don't do that to yourself. Don't worry about yesterday. Yesterday is gone. Start today with a mindset of prepping. Start it today. Don't worry about what you had a year ago to work with. What do you have right now at your disposal? How much do you have right now? Where do you need to start? What do you need to deal with? Why do you need to deal with this? We're going to start covering this stuff. We're getting the foundation laid this week. We're getting the foundation laid this week. When you answer those questions about the test, about the prepping test, the next thing you need to do is when you get those questions asked, you need to prioritize things. Do you have a bug out bag if you have to leave? Listen, if you have to leave right now today and you've got a bug out bag, you can make it to a shelter somewhere. It may not be the very best way that you want to live, but had you rather have your family in a shelter somewhere knowing that they're getting some food, some water, some nourishment as opposed to having to look at them on the side of the road and asking you, Daddy or Honey, what are we